Hey guys, it's Andrea. I wanted to make a vlog today about how to stay motivated. I am getting tons of emails and questions about how to stay motivated to study, how to stay motivated to keep pushing through if you're a pre-med or in medical school when things get rough or when you have to skip going out with friends because you have to study and things like that. So I thought I'd give you my best tips about how to stay motivated. It's a really long road if you're going to college and then medical school and then residency, and so you have to keep focused on your goals and things like that. But before I get started, I just want to say thanks again for all of your awesome comments and questions. I will make videos answering your questions, I promise. So if you have any specific topics that you want me to talk about, just leave a comment down below and I'll either answer you in text or I will make a video answering your question. And sometimes it takes me too long, so I'm trying to get better. I'm sorry. All right, so let me start with my first tip for staying motivated. I have a little list written down here so I don't forget. So number one thing is to make sure that medicine is really what you want to do. And so for me, that means either volunteering or shadowing or spending time in the medical field. So whenever I start to feel really down, especially in medical school, when I would start to feel just so sick of studying and bitter and just think this is stupid, what am I doing this for? That's when I knew I needed to go out and volunteer or go out and spend time in the clinic, because spending time with patients and seeing what the medical world is really like in action outside of the library, that's what brings you back, and then you remember like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this. And so that can really help. So make sure it's what you want to do. Spend time shadowing, spend time volunteering. If you don't know how to shadow, I get lots of questions like, how do I set up shadowing with somebody? This is what you do. Ready? Okay, you decide what type of field of medicine you're interested in. So say you're interested in pediatrics or general surgery or whatever, and you Google general surgeon in whatever town or city you're in, and then you just call those offices and say, hi, I'm a high school student or I'm a college student and I'm really interested in pediatrics or whatever, and I'd really like to shadow. Is that a possibility? And they'll either say no or they'll say yes. And you might have to call a couple people for somebody to say yes, but someone will say yes eventually. And that's all you have to do. That's all I did. And I was able to shadow quite a bit in high school. So that's my number one tip. My number two tip for studying, this is what I thought a lot in college and in medical school, is that once you've decided that this is the path for you and that this is what you know you want to do, then you really don't have a choice. You kind of have to study and you have to get good grades if you want to go to medical school. So I knew I wanted to go to medical school, and for me that meant in college I didn't have a choice. I had to study because I had to get good grades, because I had to go to medical school, because that was the only career that I could see myself doing. And so when you think about it that way, like this is what I must do, then like motivation's not even a thing, because it's just what you have to do. And I just kind of accepted that that was what my life was going to be, because I knew that I didn't want to do anything besides medicine. And that kind of sounds masochistic, or I don't know, but it at least helped me, because I didn't think like, oh, I should decide whether or not I have to study. It just wasn't even a question. Like, yes, I have to study. Like, that's just how it was. And so that really helped me. And I also thought, I'm in college or I'm in medical school, so I might as well study as hard as I possibly can, because it's like, what else do I have to do? I think it's really different if you have a family or if you have kids or if you have other responsibilities. But for me, I was a student, and being a student was my full-time job. So studying as hard as I possibly could and getting great grades, it was like, well, I might as well, because I have nothing else to do. I mean, I could have gone out with my friends and stuff, but if you think about it, that it's your livelihood, it's your career to be a student, then you might as well dominate and do a good job. So that's kind of how I thought about that. So that was my number two tip. Don't think about it like a choice. You just do it and think you might as well do it, because that's what you're in school for. All right, so my third tip, and this really helps when you start to get frustrated. And I remember in college, like in chemistry, sometimes I would just feel so frustrated because I didn't understand a concept, and then the professor would just go on, and the lecture would move on, and I'd be like, I have no idea what's going on. And then I would just want to like throw my books up in the air and be upset and just frustrated, because it sucks when you don't understand it and when you don't get it. You're just that frustrated feeling. It's horrible. So I totally get that feeling. And when you have that feeling, you just need to take a step back. And I've said this in videos before, so this is my total motto, and say this to yourself, that there's nothing that you can't learn. Nothing. It might take you a couple days, it might take you a whole week, whatever, but whatever that concept is, you are capable of learning it eventually. You just have to go over it over and over and over again. So I know you've all experienced this in a class when some concept makes no sense and like you just don't understand it, like stoichiometry or something, and you totally don't get it until all of a sudden you do get it. And then you're like, oh, this is so simple. Now I understand it. And then you never have a problem with it again. So you just have to remind yourself that you'll get to that point. You will get there where you think, oh, I finally get it. And it's just going to take you writing and rewriting your notes over and over again, or practicing problems and doing problems in your book over and over again. And so just tell yourself there's nothing that you can't learn, and you just have to keep going because eventually you'll get it. And it totally sucks, and I'm with you. I understand that feeling, but you can do it. You can do it. I know you can. All right, so that's one thing when you're frustrated. And the other thing I would do when I was feeling really overwhelmed, and I get emails and questions about this a lot. Like, I have 3 exams coming up, and I don't even know where to start, and I'm so behind, and I did bad on my last test, and I'm really overwhelmed. Like, what should I do? So when you have that feeling, what I would do is I would pick topics that I really sucked at, like topics that I knew I just did not understand, or I always got those questions wrong. So like in physics, like if you always get mass acceleration problems wrong, then pick that topic, and I would create what I called a domination plan. And I just did that to like jazz myself up about studying, and I would say, I am going to dominate this topic, and after tonight, I'm going to be so good at this that I hope there's a question on the test over this stuff because I'm going to get it right. And you have to have that attitude about it. And then I would make a plan of exactly how I was going to get good at this topic. So that meant like go over chapter 1 on the board, go over chapter 2 on the board, then do all these questions, then do them again, and then do them again. Or whatever. Like I remember one day we were doing the Krebs cycle in med school, and I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to go home and dominate the Krebs cycle, which sounds really silly. But I went to school and just went into one of the classrooms, and I wrote it on the whiteboard over and over and over, and I made up a mnemonic to help me get through it. And I kid you not, I can still tell you the Krebs cycle right now, 3 years later, and it doesn't matter at all. But I killed that test because I made a domination plan and I did it. And so if you have that attitude, and then you just make a plan of how you're going to execute that studying, it makes you feel better, and then you have an action plan and you can actually do it. So that's my next tip. And then my last tip is just to reward yourself. You know, you guys are working so hard, and being pre-med and being in med school is rough. I mean, it is really challenging to take those classes and learn so much. You're just shoving so much stuff into your brain. So reward yourself. Buy yourself a latte if you've studied a bunch, or go get a manicure, or whatever. Just tell yourself you're going to go for a nice long jog. Or I would always, this is so silly, after exams in medical school, I would always go to Whole Foods and get a huge salad, and then I would go next door and get a huge thing of frozen yogurt. And that was like my reward after tests, like every single test during medical school. So whatever it is, just be kind to yourself and tell yourself you can do it. Don't beat yourself up, and you'll get there. So I hope this video helps you stay motivated, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!